So guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome for another retro review. In my last retro review was the Canon 1DX, which was the best camera I ever owned and the biggest game-changing camera I ever owned. And I said I was going to then start back at where it all began for the pro bodies with the Canon 1D, the original Canon 1D, which was brought out in 2002. But I got my hands on a Canon D30. So the Canon D30 was the first ever homegrown Canon-only camera. They did some collaborations with Kodak before that, but this was the first ever Canon homegrown DSLR. So we're going to try this camera today. Now I bought this in Canada from Brian's camera store, which wasn't too far away from me here in Ontario. I bought it for a really good price. It worked out about £70 UK, and I think it was coming something like 130 Canadian dollars. And it came, and honestly, it's immaculate condition. Absolutely fantastic condition. It came with the grip at the bottom, which you can hardly get hold of. Which is an absolute winner, which then takes an additional 2 batteries. The condition of the camera is absolutely fantastic. It feels amazing in the hand, as they always do. And I decided, right, I've got to get this camera. Yeah, it's not a beast, it's slow, and we'll go through some of the downsides for it at a later date. But we're just going to go through the camera now itself, kind of. It's not really like an open the box because it didn't come in a box, it didn't have a manual. But what it did come with, the camera came itself. I give it a clean, give it a good wipe over, give it a blow through, cleaned all the grips off with a toothbrush, cleaned all around it, stripped it down, made it look brand new again. So it came with 3 batteries as well. 2 of those batteries are pretty much gone and 1 is still functioning, but I was lucky that my 20D that I had years ago, I kept the BP 511 alphas, and I've had them for absolutely years. God knows why I kept hold of them, but I did, and they are pretty much brand new. So I have got those 2 batteries and the 1 that works. It also came with the CA PS400, which is the dual charger. It usually comes as standard with a single charger, so it didn't have that one, it had this one. So dual charger, happy days. It came with that, and surprisingly enough, it came with a memory card, which is a compact flash. It also came with a DC coupler, which is the DR400. It allows you to plug this in to the camera and use AC, so mains connectivity there. So it came with that, which is kind of cool. And it came with just 2 power leads, so 1 for the DC coupler and 1 for the charger. So yeah, that's what it came with. Happy days, and I'm glad it came with a card because all the cards I've got are above 1 to 2 gigabytes, and this camera will not take cards of that capacity. And I think I was told it can only take up to cards up to 1 gigabyte, but it takes this one, which came with it. So I was really pleased that that came with it. Saves me buying a card. So overall, the camera, guys, really, it's amazing. The condition, there's not any scratch, bangs, dings, anything on it whatsoever. The only thing it's missing is a slight, one of the little caps there for the PC sync, and you've got that one there for the remote control as well, and you've also got the transit cap over the top there, and that comes with it, which is amazing. It didn't come with a the eyepiece, sadly, but I bought one of these off eBay for literally a couple dollars, and it fits on perfectly. So there we have it, the Canon D30, the first ever, as I said, homegrown DSLR by Canon, and it was the first ever APS-C sensor camera, being the first digital camera, but the first APS-C type, and it's a 1.6 crop, so you've got the magnification effect, and it's 3.25 million pixel camera, so not massive, and it shoots RAW and it shoots JPEG, so it'll shoot varying JPEG, so fine, medium, etc., and it will shoot Canon RAW as well, which is great. So 3 frames a second, it's no beast, but back then, my God, 25 years old, that's pretty damn good. We're going to put the sensor to test as well. Take it out in the snowy environment, see if we can locate some wildlife. If not, we're going to do some landscape type shots of trees in the snow, etc. And hopefully we'll get some great results from it. So as I said before, they did do a collaboration with Kodak beforehand, but those cameras were designed pretty much for professional use only, and they were an absolute fortune. And they were a bolt-on from one of the 1N series, etc. And there was a bolt-on at the bottom, and they are like literally so difficult to get hold of. And this was bad enough in this condition. I've seen them on eBay loads, and most of them are spares and repair and broken. And let's face it, no one's going to be able to repair this because it's so old. So just going into the various specs, you'll see them on the screen at the side there. But it takes compact flash. It says up to 1 GB, Type 1 and slightly thicker Type 2s, but it takes this 2 GB card, which is great. So it's a single slot in the back, just at the side, single slot at the side, in goes that card. So really, really pleased that they came with a card. As I said, slots in there, job done. So as I said, guys, it's 1.6 crop, 3 frames a second, and it's got 3 focus points. And you can select those focus points, and it's not illuminated either inside, so it's just as you see it. So very limiting on the focus point situation. The viewfinder is great, sort of mirrors on a 35mm camera, looking through nice and clear, as you'd expect from a DSLR. So it does 1/4000th of a second down to a 30 and bulb mode, so it can shoot pretty fast. As I said, only 3 frames a second though, and obviously the buffer on that is pretty slow. And obviously the replay at the back of the screen as well. At the back, you've got a 114K dot rear screen. That's a 1.8 TFT screen on the back. So very, very small screen, not the best quality. As I said, 114K dots at the back isn't a lot, but my God, back then to be able to view your image on the back of the camera was literally game changing. So as I said, it takes the battery takes the BP 511s, but it'll take these. Now these were made by Canon en masse. There was loads of these, one of the most popular batteries, and they ceased making these in like 2008. But you can still get loads and loads of these batteries, aftermarket batteries, on Amazon and things. Find varying companies, DTSC, loads of other companies sell those batteries. And I said these two here, original Canon ones for my 20D, and they work absolutely fine. Okay, total weight of the camera is 780 grams, and that's without a card and the batteries fitted. And that's the camera itself, not the grip at the bottom. So this is the BG ED3 grip. As I said, I was really, really pleased to be able to get that as an addition, really. You know, because for me, myself, I like to have that grip. It's a little bit rattly in places. There's nothing going on in there. It does work. I have tried it. And it really is an absolutely beautiful camera. And in the hand, it just feels right. Looking at the menu layout above, and you'll see that in the pictures, we've got a wheel to the left. So ADEP at the top, manual, AV, TV, P, green zone, and you've got your various modes: portrait, landscape, macro, sports, etc. At the top there. A nice stiff dial there, which is kind of what they used to do on sort of semi-pro models, having those modes at the bottom there, and then your creative side as well. You've got changing your exposure modes, flash compensation. You've got your drive modes there, your AF and white balance there. And you've also got, switching it on, you've got a knob just at the side. You'll see the pictures. Switching that on. You've also got a pop-up flash there, which I never really use, but it's obviously handy to have, and you usually have these on the semi-pro models. But absolutely lovely. I mean, it really is. You've got no illumination on the screens, so you've got no rear LCD like this at the back. You've just got the rear screen. And looking at the rear screen, it is quite crude. You've got your modes there, the quality, raw, JPEG, auto exposure bracketing, ISO speed. And the ISO speed, guys, for this ranges from 100 to 1600. And to be honest, I've had a few test shots from 100 to 1600, and 1600 is still not too bad, considering this is 25 years old. So really, really surprising. There's no auto ISO function, obviously, with this camera. But as it stands, and I've been using Canon cameras since the 10D, this really just feels like it's been in my hand all my life. It really does. It's a great camera, and yes, I'm not going to go out shooting fast action wildlife, but for a bit of nostalgia, just getting out there with a camera of this age, to find one in this condition, this old, is absolutely fantastic. So if anybody's ever used this camera, if anybody's ever owned this camera, how they got on with it, how they didn't get on with it, please let us know in the vlog description below. It'd be really interesting to see how you got on. And obviously after this one, there was the D60, and I think then came the 10D and then the 20D, and they had the Rebel series, etc. But all in all, I mean, just looking at the pictures there, guys, the condition of the camera is absolutely fantastic, and what a piece of history, being the first ever homegrown Canon DSLR, and still in my hands today. Absolutely can't wait to get out there and shoot with it, and just to see what those images are like, and just to prove that, do we really need such high megapixel cameras for basic imagery? I mean, 3.25 million pixels, that's still pretty good. I think my 20D was 8.2 million, I think. But I'm really going to look forward to get out there and using it. And the dials, there, muscle memory, straight there, intuitive, lovely grip at the back. I really do like the fact that this has come with the additional grip there, which really does help. And obviously you've got in the back, as you can see in the pictures, you've got the battery slots there for the additional batteries. Nice little orange marker there to pop the batteries out and lock in. It's nice there that you've got the, that's the wheel to undo the battery grip at the bottom. You've got the focus point selector, you've got the A lock button, and you've got the vertical shooting shutter there, as well as the wheel. Really noisy, but great. But yeah, all in all, I mean, what a piece of history. And I'm really looking forward to getting out there and using it. I'm probably going to be using it with a Canon 17-40, 16-35, or the 70-200 f4. I'm just going to shoot along the river, see if we can see anything. I don't think there'll be an awful lot of wildlife around, but we'll certainly put it through its paces and see what we can get. Weatherproofing, guys, probably nigh on nothing on there, probably very little. So not a camera you would take out in all weathers for sure. And this classic piece is nicely housed into my dry cabinet behind the camera there, and it will stay in there for a long period of time. And it's just, the rear LCD screen is in amazing condition too. So all in all, yeah, really happy. For the price I paid for it, for a piece of history, I don't think that's too bad at all. I think when the camera was first introduced, I think it retailed for about $3,000, I think, which back then was quite a lot of money. As I said, in year 2000, that is a lot. But certainly with today's standards, with affordability, if you put it in the price point what it would be at today, I mean, that's still not bad considering the tech. And I think, you know, that this sort of camera here, especially when we're used to coming from film cameras, when you're shooting 400 speed film, and this can go up to 1600 ISO, that's pretty damn good for a camera, to be perfectly honest, in most people's hands anyway. But what we're going to do is we're going to head out into the field. Hopefully we're going to be able to get some subjects to take pictures of. If not, nice bit of landscape shots, nice bit of snow out there. It's been down to like -30. Today, this morning was -21, and now looking at my weather station, we're looking at -5. So it's not too bad. But we're probably going to head out, hopefully, this afternoon and get some imagery, and if not, I'll head out early tomorrow morning and see if we can get some early morning sun-up shots with the old D30 to see what it can produce. So guys, I'm out obviously now locally to me, and I've come to a lovely park that I frequent quite a bit. There's quite a lot of historic monuments in here, although a lot of them are covered in snow. As you can see around me at the moment, we've got several feet of snow, and although it's been down to -30, today is only about -4, so it's not really too bad. So the fingers are fine, and so is the face. So there's not any wind chill, which is great. So we're going to test the D30 today, and I did want to come out just after I'd done the intro back in my office, and I took a few test shots when I went out, and I was getting some proper banding of black parts of the image when I was shooting at 3 frames a second continuous. I think it was down to the batteries that came with the camera and the batteries that I had for my 20D, as I said before, my BP 511 alphas. I don't think they were up to scratch. I've had them for 17 years and I don't think they were any good. And when I was the demand, the camera's out in cold weather, I went out and it was kind of like -14 and the camera was shooting away and I don't think the batteries had enough juice. So I bought 2 aftermarket batteries from Amazon, got those in, done a few test shots, camera works absolutely fine. So it was either to do with the temperature range or it was to do with the fact that the batteries were pretty knackered. So I'm hoping today we're going to do some shooting and see how this camera performs. This 3.25 million megapixel beast, the first homegrown DSLR from Canon, introduced in the year 2000, and obviously the first CMOS sensor too, homegrown from Canon. So we're going to see what it can do. Conditions are quite tricky. I've done a few test shots as well and already found that shooting this camera at correct exposure, in the snow you need to shoot positive exposure, so 1, 2, 3 stops even over. This camera at the moment when it's shooting is, even when it's supposed to be correctly exposed, is shooting really, really underexposed, and the images look quite depressing. So I think generally with this camera you have to then shoot a little bit overexposed just to bring some of that, the lighter areas out, because it does look pretty dark and lifeless. So we're going to crack on. I've just got a nice little picture here of a tree, just with some snow hanging on it. Just going to get the tripod set up. I got my little my Photo Pro tripod here, and just going to get it set up. And with the 16-35 IS lens, f4, and see what sort of shots we're going to get. So I'm just taking the last shot now, guys. It's 1600 ISO. Obviously at the moment with the snow being so bright, the exposure and the actual metering system on the camera is obviously really got stacks and stacks of light, because the reflection of light, because of the whiteness, is throwing that out a little bit. So as I'm changing, so I'm still staying at f8 and I'm just upping the ISO as I go. So 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600. And I'm just taking the image, and obviously the shutter speed then increases, but I'm still overexposing on the image by the same amount. I'm just pushing up the shutter speed. There's no wind, there's no movement on the tripod, so effectively the images should pretty much still be the same. Now these are not going to be great images, guys. It's just to test the camera, see what quality is like shooting from 100 ISO up to 1600 on this 3.25 million pixel CMOS sensor. Hoping some of the images will be fairly usable. Going to do a bit limited in post as well. Just having a little go, just walk around, see if I can pick out some stuff. I want to pick up some monuments over there. Although they're covered in snow on the top, I want to pick up some detail of the lovely stonework, hoping that maybe we can bring some detail out as well on those. There's a huge delay on the screen at the back, and when you're looking here, it is a very, very basic screen, but it was groundbreaking back in the day. Having that on the back of your camera when you've just gone from film, and you've got a little screen at the back telling you what your image looks like, is absolutely incredible. 25 years ago, this camera was brought out, and do you know what? It's a joy to use. A lot of people wonder why I bother buying these old things, but I mean, it's a piece of history at the end of the day, and coming out here to shoot images with a camera that old, you know, it's kind of, I love it. It's good fun. I've got a couple more lenses in the bag. I've got my EF 400 and my 70-200 as well, and I'm hoping maybe if we get a chance to get some wildlife in there, we'll try maybe get some quite habituated squirrels, and maybe there might be a hawk or something in the tree if I'm lucky, because if I'd just bought this lens with me, guaranteed I would have seen something of note, and I'd have wished I'd have bought more lenses with me. So going to move on, going to do a bit of statue stuff down there now, a bit of those pillars and posts, just see if we can pick out some of that detail in the stone. So guys, I just trudged through this really deep snow, and this is way past my knees, really deep. We've got these two pillars here right in front. It's nothing absolutely amazing, don't get me wrong. It's a focal feature there in the landscape here. Trees behind aren't the best, but it's just to give you an idea really, and just to test and see what this sensor can do. And these conditions are really bright, so you've got to be careful when you're blowing the highlights and blowing the exposure a bit, that you're obviously losing that detail. It is quite difficult, but it's going to pick out some detail on there. And I'm going to switch lenses over in a minute. I'm going to whack the EF 400 on. I've just seen a little red squirrel behind me, which is scurrying around, and they do not sit still for very long. So it would be nice to do a little bit of wildlife. And don't forget, this camera can only do 3 frames a second. It's got 3 focus points, and that is it. There is no light indicator on the illumination panel inside the focus there on the focus screen. There's no illumination there, so you don't know if that focus point is active. You've just basically got through the viewfinder. When you adjust the button at the back, you press this one here, and you press that, and then you just scroll with the wheel on top, and you either select the first, or center, or third focus point. That is it. That's all you got. So very limiting, but still, it's a nice viewfinder. It's very simple. And it's nice not to overcomplicate things, especially with today's modern cameras. So much functionality on the cameras, it's just almost confusing sometimes, and you're spoilt for choice. But here, so basic, no video, no auto ISO. It's just a camera, nuts and bolts, but it's a lot of fun, as always, to use. Just going back to these cameras again, it's just great. As I said, I wouldn't shoot this ordinarily every day for my wildlife photography or even my landscape stuff. I would use other cameras, but it's fun, and it's just nice to see what it can actually deliver. Anyway, gonna whack the lens on now, make a move through this deep stuff, and see if we can find ourselves some wildlife. So guys, I've got the EF 400 F5.6 on. It's all quite quiet at the minute. Birds seem to be quite shy, and scouting the trees for any owls and things I can see, but it's all really quiet. And what I forgot to say as well about the camera is with the AF modes, it's got AI servo, AF, and one-shot AF. And that's kind of what I'd be using, obviously, if I was doing landscape. I'm using one-shot AI servo for a lot of my wildlife photography work, constant tracking of the subject. And the tracking and the sensitivity of the autofocus system is really good. It may only have 3 focus points, but they do a damn good job of tracking. So even hunting through the copse of trees here for a single spot, it's really good. And it really will pick out detail if you need it on a small bird. So really quite good for 3 autofocus points, which in today's camera world is very limited. It just shows you what you can get away with if you can use it properly. Anyway, onwards, see if we can find some birds somewhere. So guys, decided to move locations down to a bit more of a wild area as the park got a bit busy with dog walkers, a bit noisy, wasn't an awful lot around, so I thought I'd head off to a location I know and hope to get some luck with some smaller bird species. Going to keep the EF 400 F5.6 on and hope we'll get some shots with that. Not forgetting we've got a 1.6 crop factor on there, so you've got that extended reach again there. But yeah, it's so far performing really well. I have had the last couple of images that have gone a bit black on the screen again, and I don't know whether that's down to the fact that it's the cold. I did look up errors and problems with the D30, and they did say that old batteries and temperatures below freezing can cause the camera some issues, so maybe that's what it is. When I bought the camera, I shot with it when it was in warmer weather, so it was completely flawless. So I'm thinking maybe that could be the reason. But right, going to head on to a new spot, and hopefully we might get lucky. So here we are, new location, not too far away, a fair few miles down the road, and hoping to go to a nice woodland area that I know of. It's usually a fair few birds foraging around there. There's some plant, tree, shrub, if you like, called sumac, which provides a good food source for them through the winter. That's always a good place. And there's a bit of a warmer stream there where sometimes they can drink. Hoping maybe I'll sit there, sit tight. Maybe we'll see some cardinals and some chickadees, maybe some juncos and a few other species. Just tried a shot again with the camera. Seems to be okay now. Just not sure. Sticky shutter maybe. It's an old camera, it's not been used for a long time. So maybe that's the reason, but just take it nice and easy and see how we get on. So I'm getting some quite nice shots actually, but I'm getting this layer of black on the image at the bottom, and then I'm getting the part of the image which is okay. It's kind of almost like the shutter is not working and it's sticking a little. I get some that are quite black and some that are okay, which is frustrating because I just had some nice shots of a red squirrel then, just on an old stump, and a northern cardinal, beautiful male, and they were all dark. So quite frustrating. It's not the sort of camera I can get fixed either. And I think it's probably something to do with the memory card or maybe the temperature today, but I can't be sure. But it's still, it's fun. There's a few chickadees kicking about as well, so just going to hang on here. I've just seen some coyote tracks as well, deep into the snow, and just saw 3 wild turkeys at distance, and I shot them quite away, but they kind of look a little dark. But yeah, I'm going to persevere here a little bit, I think, just give it a go a bit longer, maybe pop back to some bit of landscape and see how we get on. But it's fun, you know, it's just a bit frustrating, really, that I'm shooting and I'm getting quite a lot of dark images, which is a real shame, and I don't really know why. And I've got no warranty with this camera. If there is a further problem there that's possibly that the camera shutter mechanism is failing, I don't know, but we'll just have to see how it goes. So the fault seems to have cleared itself now, and I'm getting shots which aren't blacked out, and they're all fairly good, apart from some being slightly under and slightly overexposed. We've got a nice woodpecker drumming away there, obviously gone quiet now. There we go, lovely, lovely to hear. So got a lot of chickadees, a lot of cardinals, got a few woodpeckers, had a male hairy woodpecker came in. I've got squirrels everywhere here, black squirrels, grey squirrels, red squirrels. A lot of activity in here, just near this little bridge area here, which is quite nice. No nuthatches yet. Obviously saw the wild turkeys. In fact, there's a chickadee just coming in there. Hear that rapid fire of the 3 frames a second. So I realise you can, not only have you got the 3 focus points, you can select all the focus points as well, not just individuals. Yeah, I mean, these are not award winners, guys, but it's a lot of fun. And now it's behaving itself. Maybe it just needed a bit of working. You know, this camera's probably not been used and stuck in a drawer for God knows how long. So it's now just trying to get that shutter working. I can pick up a little different, kind of slightly different sound with the shutter when I go consecutively at 3 frames. It kind of makes a funny noise. I did do, and now it's just the same all the way through. So maybe it's just working itself loose again. Obviously sitting there for a long period of time, not working itself. Then I've just seen a nuthatch. Just seen a nuthatch come in. That's the first one. Looks like a white-breasted. But I'm going to persevere here for another half now. This is great fun, and it's just beautiful to be in this forest. It's just a couple of skiers going past. Apart from that, it's pretty quiet. Beautiful. And that woodpecker is fantastic. I can see a woodpecker just here. Right, back to it. So I'm really quite impressed, guys, with the autofocus system on the camera. It's really picking up the subject really, really quickly. Even with a single spot, all 3 spots, it's straight on it. Through the clutter, it humps a little bit, but no more than the normal camera would. But it's really quite impressive. I used to own the Canon 1V HS film camera, and the autofocus system on that was absolutely incredible for the time. So this obviously came after that, so they've obviously used some of the tech for the autofocus in a digital camera, but I'm really impressed. You know, the focus points are limiting, but to be honest, you know, it's great. It's a bit of fun. and it's amazing what you can get with a 3 million pixel camera. But let's hope those images are going to be half decent when I show you them on the computer. And I don't want to edit them to death. I want to just do fairly subtle edits, so I'm not deceiving the eye too much. And I may include the raw images there as well, just so you can see a direct comparison. But I'm going to go quiet now, give it another half hour, and then head on home and download these images, and let's see what we're playing with. But yeah, it is, honestly, it's lots of fun. It really is. Am I gutted I didn't bring another camera with me, an up-to-date one? No, not really. This is good fun, and it's just nice to walk around light. And as I said, guys, this is a really light outfit. The camera itself with the grip, really, really light. And yeah, it's a joy to use. Lovely display as well. As you can see on some of the images I've shown you, it's a really nice readout there. It hasn't got a light at the back, so you can't see what you're doing at night. But all in all, you know, for a camera that's 25 years old, I think I've said it enough that it's actually amazing tech for the time. So guys, we've got a red-tailed hawk just come in, and oh, it's fantastic. Shaking with excitement here. Beautiful. I think it's a red tail. It's going to go. This is where 3 frames a second is limiting. I'm kind of shaking with cold here and shaking with excitement. This is great. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, amazing. Oh, what a bird, man, what a bird. Just... I was slightly masked by this bridge here. Oh, it's fantastic to see. I hope I got some flight shots there, guys. I was just going to say, I was hoping to get some flight shots, a bit of wing movement. It's so difficult to track these birds because they're so small. And then comes a red-tailed hawk. I think it's a juvenile, I'm not sure. It's gone and landed quite a way over there. I think it was feeding on something. I know there's a resident bird here, and that is just incredible. Happy days. Let's hope this bad boy has captured a half-decent image. Right, I can see it in the trees. I'm going to see if I can get a static shot from here. Right. Well, guys, I was absolutely over the moon then. Had that action with the red-tailed hawk. Now, I looked at the image on the back of the camera, and sadly, I got a couple of it landing on top of a tree with its wings splayed open. Looks a bit high-key, looks a bit overexposed, but I think it'd probably be all right. I might be able to do something with that. No idea until I get back on the computer screen. And as it launched and flew, the lighting changed, and it was quite underexposed, so probably a bit crap. I'll see what I can do with that. It was more of the experience really to see the resident bird here. I've been here quite a few times. This is a really nice little area and it's not far from my house. Great for coyotes, good for birds of prey. This is where the barred owl is as well, which I've never seen. And it's the first real time I've spent any time watching the red-tailed hawk that close, and it was on the tree just over there. But yeah, no, that was fantastic. I'm gonna call it a day, I think, there. I had a nice woodpecker come in as well, and the cardinals, and I think I've done quite well. It's now kind of late morning. I think I'm going to head back. Feet are a bit cold, and hands are starting to go a little too. So I'm quite happy. I just wanted to get out, give the camera a go, see what it can do, and I'm glad to say that I've shot away at least 300 pictures today, and in the last 200 pictures, the camera has not shown me a black image. So I think I've just worked that problem free. I think it possibly was to do with the fact that the camera's probably just been sat for so long, and it just needed to be worked and used like most things. I'm hoping that's it. It's either that or it's possibly a faulty memory card. But I've had a fantastic morning. It's been great. I'm really excited. It's almost like the film days when you send your films off to be developed and you're excited about getting them back. this is kind of like really excited to get back on the computer, and I hope I've managed to get some half decent images. They look all right on the screen, as I said, but there's a big difference between a very, very 1.8-inch screen with 114,000 dots than it is on a 27-inch iMac screen. So we'll see what that 3.25 million pixel CMOS sensor has done. Yeah, no, fantastic morning. Hope you really enjoyed it, guys. It's a bit of fun, really, just to see what these old dinosaur cameras can do. Maybe, I say, in the right hands. But it's been a lot of fun. Now I'm going to head back and, yeah, nice cuppa, and download these images. So guys, welcome back now to my office, and I've just had a good time to go through all the images shot on that morning from the local park and a place near my home, more so for wildlife. I've had a really, really good time, to be honest. It's been absolutely amazing. Getting out with an old camera, shooting from the hip, 3 frames a second, low megapixel count, old dinosaur of a camera, has been awesome. It really has, and I'm not going to go in depth to it too much, just going to really run over what I think of it. And to be honest, the camera, for 25 years old, did a great job. It really did. I can't believe how good it was when it came out. That 3.25 million pixel sensor, 1.6 crop, first CMOS sensor, amazing, really is. And the question is, would I shoot with that camera now, daily? Absolutely not. Would I recommend it to someone getting into photography? Probably not. But why am I doing this review? Well, because I love old camera tech, and shooting with that was a lot of fun for me. It just goes to show how spoilt we are these days, and how these old cameras really did deliver when they first came out. To have a screen on the back of that camera to enable you to see your image taken, and on previous cameras, you had to send your film away to get developed or develop it yourself. That is absolutely groundbreaking. And to have that camera still now working in my hands and shooting some half decent shots. There's a lot of shots on here, guys, especially the ones in the park with the trees and some of the structures that I took pictures of, the pillars. They weren't particularly good. You know, I did find they were quite grainy. I did find the ISO range from 100 up to 800 pretty good. 1600 was a little bit too much. So they weren't great. I shot in black and white, a lot of them, because they just didn't do much for me, really. They were quite limiting, down to due to the overcast day, the very bright snow ground. You know, it wasn't really anything there, like any sort of lush detail that I could gather from it. So I decided to kind of knock that on the head and then try a new location. And when I went on to the woodlands nearby, I had a fantastic time. I shot varying species there, from woodpeckers to the hawk, to cardinals, to chickadees. It was fantastic. And did the camera deliver? Did a pretty good job. Some of the images, when you go in at 100%, they do lack a lot of that sharp, fine detail, as you're going to get on a 3.25 million pixel sensor. And I did find when I was editing it, and I did throw some of the images through Topaz, and I said I was going to put the raw images out, but to be honest, they were pretty rough in places. And when I did run them through Topaz, not all, but some, I ran them through Lightroom, did a few basic edits. But what I found when I was editing these images through Lightroom is that you couldn't really go in too hard on the editing side. If you were to over sharpen, it destroys the image. On a lot of my images, I can push that sharpening quite high. On this camera, I just couldn't get away with it. It broke the image up and it looked awful. I think a couple of the squirrel there, a couple of the chickadee, a couple of the cardinal actually came out really, really well. And for social media, a great camera. Go out, shoot a few images, put them on socials, they look great. But you blow that up you know, for any sort of picture or fine print, it's just not going to cut the mustard, to be honest. Not for me anyway. So I wouldn't recommend it for anybody to go out there and buy one of these cameras to use for daily use. But if you want to go out, go back to some old tech. They're a lot of fun, and the camera, you know, it did deliver with restrictions, frames per second, ISO, lots and lots of things were really, really limiting. When I'm shooting with my R3, R7, DX3, whatever, there's so much there that's just, it's just fantastic. We're so spoiled. But shooting with this, yeah, it has massive, massive limitations, but it was a lot of fun. And if you want to go out there and go on a bit old school nostalgia and go out shooting in your local park or wherever with a camera like that with an old lens on the top, I mean, it's great fun. It really is. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I hope you guys did too. And I hope you thought the images okay. They aren't too bad. A few are a bit dodgy. But to be honest, it's not, I'm not aiming it and saying go out and buy it for a wildlife camera for your first one. If you want to go out there and buy one and have a bit of fun, if you can find one in good nick like that, go for it and grab it, because they are a lot of fun. But make sure you get some half-decent batteries. But I hope you really enjoyed that retro review, guys. Once again, the next one will be the Canon 1D. Quite a lot different there, and certainly that megapixel sensor doesn't half jump, and so does the frames per second, as with many other features as well. But if you've got any comments for me, please leave them in the section below. If you can, give us a like, and a thumbs up is always massively appreciated, and a comment would be awesome. If you don't subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you're only into the retro reviews, there's plenty more, and if you're into other reviews and what I get up to here in Canada and the UK with my wildlife photography, please click that all important subscribe button. But from me, thanks very much indeed for watching. I'll see you all next time.